This is a Renew Studios Network podcast. Faithful, uplifting, family-focused.
This episode is brought to you by JCPenney. Yes, JCPenney. And if you've been there recently, you know it's the place to go for jaw-dropping looks at brag-worthy prices. They've got something special for every style and budget, not to mention rewards and deals that make finding those hidden gems even sweeter. If you already shop JCPenney, you're already in on the secret. But if not, it's time to ask. Wait, am I sleeping on JCPenney? Shop JCPenney.com. Yes, JCPenney.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Relationships and Reason. And it's going to be a very exciting episode because of talking to long time, pretty much my brother here in this episode, but really going to dive into some deep conversation too, continuing a lot of what we talked about in the last episode, right? And so want to get some insight from you. We're going to do a little intro here in a little bit. But before we dive into all of that, hey, please follow us on socials, Relationships and Reason, Instagram. I believe that's primarily where we are, Instagram. And we have a website as well, Relationships and Reason. But please, if you know someone that enjoys learning and developing, especially in the areas of leadership, relationships, and in community, please share this with a follow listener or someone that might be interested. All right, let's jump in.
And if you're a brand that's looking for a sponsor.
Yes, and you like to associate with people like us that speak about relationships and have hard conversations and really talk about, those types of dynamics. We would love to talk with you. So reach out to us.
Yes. So thank you. Thank you, Hun, for that. So today we have a very special guest with us, and Jermaine is going to talk more about, I'll give it a little bit more intro, but he is definitely a family. And to continue our series about personal development, when we were thinking about this topic, he was the first person that came to mind with Jermaine and I. So we're like, all right, good. We definitely have to have him on the show. So go ahead, babe. Take it off.
Yeah, no, I'm going to read the exact bio that you sent over to me. And then we're going, so.
This is Jermaine's cousin.
Lieutenant Wynter is a U.S. Navy chaplain. Hey. A United States Navy chaplain, currently serving aboard a guided missile destroyer. Before joining the Navy, he spent several years as both a pastor and a hospital chaplain, right? Providing spiritual care and hope in some of life's most difficult moments. Married and proud father of 3.
Yes. Now 3.
Well, finally got your boy. Right. And just really, when you define and you think about his mission here, it's about serving God and supporting the sailors or supporting those who serve this nation. Oshaine, my youth, welcome.
Man, I was trying to wonder who you guys were describing in that bio, man.
I know when we read it, we were like, who is this?
Who this?
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited. I'm happy to be here and just thank you guys for allowing me to come on this awesome platform. So
welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Welcome. No, this is cool. This is, again, we talk about the type of relationships that we have in our lives and the people that we're surrounded by. It's cool that you can basically bring on a family member and close friends onto the podcast and be able to really truly talk about the stuff that we really want to learn and grow in.
Absolutely.
Because we have some really good, incredible people in our lives. So
we're
honored to have you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm humbled, man.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about like the confidence to grow, right? The confidence to grow. Remember our series is about personal development and embracing feedback and trying to grow without apology, elevating, right? Without apology or being sorry for your own personal growth. So today, Oshaine, like we said, whenever we were thinking through this topic, topic, you were the first person that came to our mind because of your life and the way that your life has, trajected and where you started to where you are now. So there had to have been some sort of, thinking behind and planning behind where for you to get to where you are now. So we are unpacking what it really means to grow in confidence,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
doing so without applause or without apology, when not looking for feedback from anyone to tell you you're necessarily doing great, but the feedback that you do get can help propel you to move on to the next phase of life, but just doing
Yeah.
so without apology. So
Yeah.
with that,
Yeah, I want to first kind of, let's start from the beginning a little bit, and you don't have to tell us your whole life story. Like, don't go down like
Trelawney and jumping and running away
Trelawney
from
road
dogs.
down, and everything.
How we used to play karate. Okay, I got you.
No, tell us a little bit. No, for real. But tell us your background. I want to hear about, how you grew up and how it kind of shaped you to where you are right now. And
Yeah.
especially in the sense of context and confidence,
Yeah, so growing up in Montego Bay, Jamaica, I grew up with Jermaine. We literally grew up in the same house. And so it was a small home, but I was surrounded by a lot of people. And you can attest that we had one big bedroom.
One big bedroom.
And you kind of learned to share and
Two beds.
Yep. And make the best of the little bit that you do have. And so kind of growing up in that gave me a sense of community, and some structure and family. But I think those humble beginnings were important for me to have, especially knowing that God has something great for me. And I think if I did not have that kind of start, I would be more prone to arrogance or just, attribute all the success I've achieved to my own personal ability.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a little bit of my background. And we could talk a little bit more about that as we continue.
That's really good. Yeah, and we'll dive into this a little bit more, but I feel like for as long as I've known you now, like I said, we grew up, so there's lots of stories and things that we can talk about, and the trouble that we used to get into, this trouble especially you used to get into, right?
Emphasis on me, yes.
Emphasis. Okay. Jermaine was like the godly child. I know Shane, the opposite.
No, but for a long time though, I can remember this hyper focus on trying to do what God wants you to do, and a lot of that led you down in the path of ministry. And so I want to kind of hear about that a little bit. Like, what were some of the things that were tugging on you early in your childhood that made you want to go down towards that path?
Yeah. So I want to take it back just a little bit. I think there were some extreme things that took place. One, I didn't know how to read until I was like 14, 15, when I first opened up the Bible. And I remember trying to read a sentence and only knowing every other word. The other thing was that I had experienced my stepfather, who you know as well, had got murdered in front of me.
Yeah.
And the day the guy had the gun to my head, I remember saying, God, if you allow me to live through this one more time, I'm going to get right. And I remember when we heard the 3 shots go off, I ran out into the living room and he died in front of me. Well, later on that morning, the police officers had said to me that it was a miracle that all of us were alive. And typically they don't leave any type of witnesses, especially if they didn't come without masks. But I was so clear in my mind on that morning that the only reason I had survived was because God had a plan for my life, and he had a calling. And that was the first time I came to that kind of realization. Yeah. And that's where it began to manifest in my life that I need to get closer to God.
Yeah. Wow.
That's how I kind of got started.
Wow. What a powerful story right off the bat. Yeah. It's just pretty remarkable. Like, obviously, for the Lord saving you at that moment, and for you to turn to God in that moment, right? And being whether fear or whatever it is that you were experiencing, for you to just be like, God, I need you right now. And for the Holy Spirit to just kind of almost like cover you and shelter you and protect you in that moment. So
Yeah.
that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And I want to say too, my head is kind of tough or thick, what we say, right? Like, like I think God had to use an extreme situation
Wow.
to get
Okay.
my attention because I wanted to do the opposite.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
And so it took a near-death experience. And I just hope that my kids don't have to go through a
Don't get
near-death
your
experience.
They're
Yeah,
not as
and they
thick-headed
get
as
some
you.
of Karina's attributes. And but that's what it took. So I think the story is more so about God than really and
Absolutely.
less about my willingness.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that because, like you said, sometimes the Lord speaks in like hushes and whispers, and sometimes He needs to knock on our door like extremely loud, like, "Hey, I'm
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you don't come now, right? Like you need to pay attention
Yeah.
right now. This alarm, you know."
Yeah.
So I'm glad He rescued you and saved you when He did, because of who you are now. So tell us about your journey and how you got from Jamaica to the US and off to college.
Yeah.
So it's so funny. So when I came up from Jamaica, my dad was having a divorce. And at the time, my stepmom, who did not have any children, did not want us a part of their lives. In fact, when they got divorced, I remember she saying to my brother and I, who was 5 years old and I was 13 at the time, she said to us, you guys are the reason why my marriage didn't work out. And just imagine telling a 13-year-old and a 5-year-old that.
Wow.
And so as a result, my dad was going to send me back to Jamaica. But God, anybody know about a but God today?
But God, thank you,
Intervened.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing was Jermaine's mom, my aunt, took me in. And that's where I went to high school in San Antonio with Jermaine for a little while. And I'll just say this real quick. I remember everybody had this high expectation for me to like be as fast and big and tall and strong as Jermaine. And I never forgot when I went on the football field and I got ran over and everybody was like, "Is that his cousin?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro. I'm not as big and strong as Jermaine." And I immediately recognized that was not my calling. And so
You just ran off the
I
football
think
field.
God, used that disappointment to say, "Hey, I got a greener pastures."
my
So
Redirection.
Redirection in one form or
Yeah.
the other.
But my love for God actually began to develop in Jermaine's home because they had a computer and I was able to go on every day to watch these Bible series at home after school. And that stimulated my spiritual appetite.
Wow, that's really good.
And about 18, I just knew, I can't explain to you, but I just knew God wanted me to go into ministry. And when I applied for college, because my reading level was so low at 14, 15, I just learned how to read, my grades weren't the best. I got rejected from every single college I applied except one, an HBCU down in Alabama. And they gave me a chance. And that began the journey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been this incredible journey to watch. I'm not getting choked up here. I'm just like listening to this. But it's incredible. And you said, truly the intervention of God through it all, because while I was in Jamaica, I was not with my parents, and it was Oshaine's mom who brought me in and allowed me to stay there and truly like protected and watched over me while I was there. And then you kind of just pointed it out now, or made it aware, not made it aware, but it I'm seeing it, how God was, just working in between during that time, and for you to come up and for you to have that same experience. So you're going now, because I can remember now, I went off to college and I see you developing and growing, and it just felt like you were getting stronger and stronger in the faith, and you were just more and more committed, and now you are going to an HBCU that was specifically was a Christian HBCU, right?
Yeah.
And so it was like, man, you are diving into it and you are making it happen. Like, what were some of the struggles that you had as you were going into this pathway?
Well, I don't know how candid I could be, but I will be as
Keep it-
cultured.
Yes, keep it
I'll be as
censored.
Christian as I can with that response. I think, imagine at 19, 20, deciding to be celibate.
Right.
How hard that was for me.
Uh-huh.
And I think that, especially in those years, like, I just remember telling myself, yo, me need a wife, like, right now, today. Immediately get me married off. So that was a struggle. And, I stayed true to my commitment. So that was a huge struggle. All right, I'm going to stop emphasizing the struggle. And then the other thing was, not having any money or scholarships and taking
Right.
out a bunch of loans.
Mm.
And, nobody in our family came from money.
Yeah.
Right.
And, and so that was just hard, man, not knowing if I was going to get through each semester,
Mm-hmm.
And so, taking out tens of thousands of dollars of student loans,
Right.
that was just hard. And just trying to figure out what you're going to eat daily, yeah, that was definitely one of my main struggles.
Man.
Wow. Oshaine, with that, going through college and you mentioned like being not the greatest or confident in your reading, but like how did you start developing confidence in yourself? Did you start seeing a change? Like what how did you finish college? Like what kept you there and made you finish?
I'm glad you kind of kept me on track there. So it was hard. That was also another struggle academically because I was behind. So I had to take a lot of remedial classes off the rip because there were so much gaps in my education. When I got to college, I had to work. I remember the first year I got there, I was in the weight room, man. I was getting big and I did it for the ladies. And I flunked the first semester, y'all. And like after that, I was like, I need to get serious.
Right.
I need to stop sculling class. I mean, when I say skull class, I need to stop like skipping classes.
You know what's a crazy thing? Like Oshaine has such a good like memory of like some of these words that he uses. Like he just right now said skull.
Oh, yeah.
Like I haven't heard that since like I left Jamaica. Like probably over 20 years now. Like some of these words he just comes up with, and I'm like, how do you still know and retain these words? That's so funny. Okay.
Yeah, so I struggled. I tell you, I struggled in every single class. But my teachers saw that I was determined to succeed and people helped me.
Yeah. That's good.
And that's how I got through. And I'll say this last thing. The last semester, oh my gosh. Now this is a testimony right here. I owed $7,000. I never applied for a scholarship in my life because I knew I was too dunce to get a scholarship. Like I was not smart enough, so I never applied. And this time I decided to apply.
Okay.
And the first scholarship I got was for $7,000.
Wow.
Just enough for me to get through my last year.
Oh,
Wow.
man, that's crazy.
Wow.
I didn't get a dime less or a dime more. And that was one of those moments God was showing me, I'm going to give you exactly what you need to succeed if you keep following me.
Yeah.
Come on.
And that's how I got through college.
Wow. What a journey. I love that you mentioned people helping you through it all. We talk about this podcast is about relationships and reasons, right? The relationships that we have in our lives with people who get us from one point to the next, right? Like we all know that none of us can survive without the help of others. And now Oshaine, you left college and you are deciding to go into ministry. Like what degree did you graduate with? Where did you go from there?
So yeah, I graduated with a bachelor's in theology, and then I went to Andrews University. both of those schools are affiliated Seventh-day Adventists. Went to Oakwood, HBCU, and then Andrews in Berrien Springs, Michigan. Ironically, that town has like 2 stoplights, and Muhammad Ali used to live there.
Okay.
Weird. So I studied a bachelor's in theology, and then I did a master's in divinity.
Wow.
And so that's where my 2 degrees were in before I could enter the ministry full time.
So, did you need to get a master's degree in order to go into ministry? Because you go from like, struggling to read at 14 or, challenging getting through undergrad. And now you're like, okay, I should get a master's. Like, what made you continue school? Did you start developing a love for school or?
Well, I think as the throughout the 4 years, the confidence began to develop where I saw that with the right environment, I was able to do this.
That's good.
And I started to realize that if I continued to apply myself, the easier the journey became.
Wow. Wow.
So I didn't get any offers to go to a church, which I'm glad I didn't.
Right. Right.
So that forced me to say, okay, what am I going to do in the meantime?
Yeah.
And in fact, when I went to get my master's, I did exceptionally well.
Wow.
I had over a 3.0 GPA, and I just could see that there was no real difference between me and the next person except opportunity
Wow.
and time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that God was showing me in the process. Like, man, you have a good brain just like all of them. You just had some unfortunate things in your life.
Wow.
Where you didn't get the right attention and poured into the right way, but you have everything you need to succeed. And I think it was through my master's program where that confidence began to develop.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I feel like there's this confidence that really took over at a certain point, and just seeing you start to really thrive and just go after what was there for you. Talk about now you going in, you have something, sorry, I'm hearing some clicking. I don't know if that's on our end. Okay. So we had, are you hearing that too?
I'm hearing it too. I don't know what it is.
Okay. So tell me about so you're going into the real world. You actually want to apply you've been studying for a long time, and now it's about actually getting out there in your ministry, like all the stuff you've been studying and working for. Like, did you feel like you had now, even with that revelation that God gave you, like the application, how did you start doing it and start to move towards that?
So basically, you're asking how did I get into the ministry?
Like you got into the ministry, like how did you feel like starting to apply the work, all the studying that you did? Now it was really time to be a pastor.
Man, I was nervous especially because I didn't come from a background where I grew up in church all my life. I had, grew up around a dad who was a pastor, was in the church choir. Like I was a kid off the streets trying to turn his life around, going into a church where it's filled with a bunch of professionals and generational people who grew up in that context, trying to speak proper. It was a lot of internal battle and struggle, and feeling like, man, do I really have the wherewiths to lead these educated people?
Yeah. Wow.
It was extremely intimidating. And, sometimes, especially church folk can be a little arrogant,
Sometimes.
So it took me a while. But I want to say this too. It made me lean on the Lord.
Wow. That's good.
Because I knew I didn't have the ability and the experience and the breadth of knowledge to truly lead these kinds of people. And so it made me truly depend on God and pray, more sincere prayers like, God, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I really need you to help me. And I'm going to tell you, man, God just began to shine through the ideas that he would give me in my ministry. the right people who saw things in me to affirm, to develop my confidence.
Yeah.
Like everything I began to touch it, I feel like preaching. Lord have mercy. Like, like everything I began to touch became gold.
Wow. Praise God.
And so, like Joshua, when he says, every step you take, I'm going to let you see the fruits of it. I was seeing that, and that's how my confidence began to grow.
Praise
Yeah.
God. Like that's the redefinition right there, I think, of confidence, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think there's a lot of times where we begin to we might do something and we might see something happen as a result of us doing that. But true like confidence, sustained confidence is being able to see like God's work in you and seeing him continue to bless you, or just moving your life based on your trust in him and really flourish in that. So that's that. I love how you describe that. Really love how you describe that.
Yeah, and O'Shane, I do too. I'm enjoying this conversation a lot, and I think one of the things that I'm hearing you say, like you said, you were, really nervous, had some internal battles and struggle, maybe almost like the imposter syndrome. Like, am I supposed to be here? Like, God, like, are you sure you chose the right person? And the confidence that you had to say, God, I don't know what I'm doing, right? So that takes a lot of confidence to be humble enough
to
trust
say,
is
trust or the belief in God that I don't have all the answers.
I don't have all the answers, and obviously from your youth and having to like depend on God to carry you through to this moment with throughout undergrad, through masters, and now you're leading a people in a church, and just coming to the Lord and say, hey God, I need you. I don't have the strength. I don't know what I'm doing. So I think that takes confidence, and then the Lord, sending the right people, right, to make sure that they help you in this process, because again, we can't do things alone. We have to make sure that we are steady, depending on people. So then now you pastored for how many years did you pastor for, and then how did you get to the military?
Wait. Sorry. Before you go into that, I want to kind of hear more in that sphere, like in the ministry in itself, right? Because I'm sure, especially as a pastor, you're starting to carry not just your weight, right? You're starting to really have the burdens of a lot of pastor in a church, right? And so starting to think about your own development in that. Now you also bring in a family, right? You start to have a family, grow your family, and there's all these different considerations. Like, talk about some of the weight and even some of the struggles that you were navigating now as a pastor, and how you were able to grow in your confidence there.
Yeah. So I think one of the nerve-wracking thing was bringing my wife into that space, because people have expectations of pastors' wives, and whether those expectations are realistic or not, they're expectations.
Right.
So I had to figure out, how can I help my wife navigate this space without putting any type of pressure on her, and let her be herself, and for my kids too.
Yeah.
So that was something I had to determine in my mind, like, this is my job. This is not my wife's job.
Wow.
And this is the only job I can bring my wife to work with.
Wow.
So that was something I had to make clear, not to make my kids mini Jesuses, like they're kids, like your kids. And you ain't putting pressure on your kids, don't put no pressure on my kids. Leave my kids alone, and setting up those boundaries. So that was hard. But I want to also say, like, one of the things that God does for us in the process in leadership is that he gives us tangible miracles along the way.
Yeah, that's good.
That are undeniable, but they are so vivid that you cannot deny the fact that you're here for a reason, and God has planted me here, and I'm not planning to leave until he removes me. So the more I did ministry, one of the things that were happening when I would pray for people, I would see people experience. I'm not making it sound like, the whole, like those ministries where people are exploiting and they're being false, but real tangible evidence where I would go into hospitals and pray for people, and people would come out of there almost immediately well.
Wow.
Or people who are struggling with some type of internal or demonic situation, and my elders and I would go over there and pray for them, and they would be relieved immediately. You know, and as the power of God began to move in my life and in my ministry, my faith and my confidence in him began to strengthen, because there was one that was with me who created the heavens and the earth.
Come on.
And the
You're
sea
preaching
and all
now.
that
You're
there
preaching now.
is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it became real. I'm like, but wait, the baddest man of the universe, the by femicide. You know what I'm saying? And God began to give me real tangible evidence along the way that encouraged me and built me up as a minister.
Yeah, yeah. Were there any situations where you felt like you were sort of humbled, and just you had to receive feedback and then kind of grow from that in that space?
Absolutely. If there's anything about church, man, people complain about everything.
Okay.
The sermon, the praise team, the this, the that. So you're getting feedback even when you don't want it. So that was one. But there was a point. I'm really glad you asked this question, because I want to say there were spurts and opportunity when I was a little arrogant when I first started out, because God was blessing me. And I started to feel like, oh man, I think I got this. I never forgot this one time. I was preaching at this event, and I was like, man, I'm about to show these people, boy, like what I'm about to do. Like I literally said those words, right?
Okay.
And this was an outside event, and I had like all my sermons printed out. And all of a sudden, when I stopped to preach, it was this gust of wind that flew and blew away my entire sermonic notes.
Are you serious?
I swear, I can't make this up. And I was so stunned, and I baffled through the entire sermon. And I just sat down, and I remember the lady who invited me, like put her hand on her head, and she was like so angry.
Oh no.
Ooh,
But
man.
I needed that, and I'm gonna tell you something. It was in that moment God said something to me. Don't you ever try to speak on my behalf.
Wow.
Whoa.
And go in your own strength and feel like you got this. You always need me.
Come on.
And from that moment on, it humbled me. And until this day, I never ever approached preaching as if I got this, no matter how long I've been doing it.
That's so good. That is so good. I think that is so common for so many of us, not just in ministry, but in just whatever we do, right? It's like we do it so much that we think like, all right, God, I don't need you for this. Like I got this. I know what I'm doing. Like I don't need you. Even in parenting, right? Like we are just starting out with parenting, but there are times when you just kind of go through the rhythm of life. But there are moments when you just like, if you can really just sit back and be like, God, I need your strength today to help me to get through with this child, right? So being able to just ask for those simple advice and instruction from the Holy Spirit. So I am glad that the Holy Spirit redirected you there. But I believe that when the Holy Spirit does that, he does it in love, right? Because he loves you so much. He wants to make sure that you don't go down the wrong path to where you become so confident that you using your gift and to ruin people's lives. We talked about that, making sure that we are refining ourselves. Again, personal development, refining yourself to the point where you're like, okay, I need the Lord, or else I will ruin my own life not knowing that we can.
Yeah.
So I really love that. So now we continue on with the rest of your story. You were a minister or at the church, or pastor at the church for how long? And what made you decide to do this shift to the military?
And I want to like put some emphasis on this, because I remember it was a big shift. It felt like a huge shift, right? You're coming in from ministry, from pastoring. I think a lot of people felt like that's what you were going to do for a long time. And so maybe even individuals having expectations of you, or even within the church, expecting you to like be a certain person the entire time, right? And that was going to be the definition of your life. But you going through prayer and having these conversations, and then deciding that you're going to make this huge transition, and what some would call even a late period of your life, right? A different period where people wouldn't usually be doing that. So yeah, talk about that.
So man, that's such a deep segue. It was something interesting when I was pastoring. There are certain things that you need to conquer before God gives you greater opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as a shepherd, because you deal with people in their vulnerable spaces.
Right.
And the vulnerable points in their life that if you're not right as an individual, you will exploit them.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is why we see so much moral falls with leaders, right? Because they're not working out these big issues in small platforms. So when God gives you a bigger platform, you're not exposed.
Yeah. Come on.
And so my 7 years of pastoring was helping to shape and mold me, help me to work out some of my defects. Yeah. But while I was pastoring, I didn't feel the true satisfaction or fulfillment, like this is it.
Yeah.
And part of it was because I had a very toxic leader, that gave me a hard time. And then when I moved on to my second district, or I became lead pastor, I just didn't feel like it was it. And so, in fact, I had applied for the military before in seminary, but I think God in his wisdom knew that I cannot trust Oshaine with the title lieutenant at 27, because he's going to go up in the military and he's going to be tripping. Okay. And so I'm going to give it to him when he got a wife and some kids, and he's a little bit more mature.
Right.
And so I was at my district, and I told my wife, I said, I can't explain to you, but I feel like I need to join the Navy. And she was hesitant, and I said, God, if this is your will, open this door, because I had got rejected twice before due to my eyes, a situation with my eyes. And when I tell you, when I applied, every door began to open. They even made exceptions for my eyes this time.
Wow.
And so it was clear to me that this was the route. In fact, people, my friends, my colleagues were like, dude, are you crazy? You're in charge of your own time. You're your own boss, essentially. Like, why you want to go into an organization and get orders from other people, or,
Yeah.
It was just, people saying I'm leaving the ministry. I mean, it was so much things along the way that caused me to even doubt at times.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes, too, you gotta be careful, man, who you tell your dreams.
Yeah.
Because there are some real dream killers. Anyway, I ain't gonna segue off that too much. But
stay focused.
Let me stay focused here. But I'm gonna tantrum about dream killers anyway. But that's how it started. It was the itch and the lack of fulfillment I was feeling in the traditional ministry.
Yeah, that's so good. And I mean, we're talking here about elevating without apology, like knowing that this is a desire for you, and it was something that, like, the ministry and pastor in the church wasn't settling in your spirit enough or well, and then there was something else that you were longing for. And to be able to, like, take that step and move on, regardless of what people are saying, like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? You're giving up all this? Yeah. But, sometimes we do have to step outside of the box, even especially when it makes other people uncomfortable, because we're like, hey, I need this in order for me to grow, right? I can see my future right here where I am. And in 5 years, who am I going to become? But if I step out, I may offend some people, but I know that like my life will be different in 5 years.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. So just walking
absolutely.
in a path to really please God rather than man. I really truly love that. So now you are in the service. You're a service member, and
Yeah.
like, what has that transition been like? Has it been, all the stuff that you've gone through and developed, whether it's as a pastor, is that transitioning into this career, into this call, into this path, or are you having to learn all over again what it's like to serve?
I, I would say it's both because my function in the military is a pastor. I'm a chaplain.
Mm-hmm.
But the military culture and life is so different than civilian world.
Yeah.
Like it was such a steep learning curve. And in fact, the first year and a half, I was not very confident.
Wow.
Yeah, I struggled with my confidence. And in fact, it caused me to develop a committed fasting where I would do fasting every month because I just felt like, man, what did I just get myself into?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you find, especially as an officer, many of the officers are not very humble people. And so you're in a room with generals, with people commanding warships. These are very confident people or
Yeah.
arrogant people at times.
Yeah.
And so you have to develop a sense of, I'm here, I know what I'm doing, so you can have a sense of belonging in the room.
Yeah.
But there is also a need for humility
Yeah.
because you will be leading people who sometimes got a better answer and you need to be open to that.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was just trying to figure out how to balance the two. But my experience as a pastor absolutely prepared me because as a chaplain, I'm able to minister to people. Like most of them, like 21, I was a youth pastor, so I can relate to them.
Wow.
I can, the way I've related to them because of my experience as a pastor
Yeah.
has given me a great advantage, even more than my peers at times, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. I absolutely love that. I feel like it just goes back to say like nothing in your life is wasted.
Yeah.
Every part of your journey is relevant for where the Lord is taking you, and being mindful to manage those seasons well.
Yeah.
Right. Oshaine, just I mean your story is just so incredible from, experiencing that near death experience, to come into the US and not being able to read well, and just, navigating undergrad and going and having the desire to go to grad school, and just seeing where the Lord has taken you from the where you started to now. I think sometimes when people look at people's lives, they often just look at their life at the moment, but not really see
Right.
the struggle. And your life is just a testament to, it doesn't matter where you started,
Yeah.
right? How with God he can literally transform your life to the space where now you are a father. Now you have a different sense of protection of how you're going to raise your kids, right? Compared to how life was with you and your dad, right? Or the things that you suffered, or things that you experienced in Jamaica. So I'm truly blown away by what God is doing and what He's still doing in your life. So I'm gonna segue. Did you have a thought before I segue here?
Yeah, I feel like there is, as I listen to this entire journey, these kind of three areas are sort of popping up to me. And just one, God's faithfulness in your life.
Yeah.
When, just seeing Him all the way through your story and the way that you've been able to lean on and see Him continue to answer just in time, as you need, when you need, and continuing to do that and giving you that confidence as you walk. I'm also seeing determination, man. Like, just realizing that you are a determined dude. Like, seriously, like all the stuff that you've stuck with, you've continued. Have you ever just looked back at that and just like realized, man, you don't give up on stuff. Like, you truly you attach to something and you continue to move towards it. And I just want to encourage in you and just truly like call it out. Like, you are incredibly determined. And then just the humility factor. It's what continues to help you to grow. It's why you're evolving and into these different places, and you can see growth in your life because you're at a place where you can be humble, receive feedback, and grow from there.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, sometimes I can't believe I'm advising a commander
Mm.
or I'm praying for officials that are making decisions, world leader decisions. And I looked, I told some of my wife this the other day, I was like, this is the same dude who learned how to read as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the same person that struggled for so many years with these different things. And I can't believe sometimes where God has brought me.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just a testament to the fact that, man, if we are faithful to God, He will bring us and place us in positions where people cannot deny the fact that it is His hand that's on us,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that because something that I say often is like whenever God has done something for us, like we know it and there's no denying. We people can say whatever
Yeah.
they want to, but you just know in your heart, like if it wasn't for God. So it's like I'm not even trying to convince you. I'm just telling you, like if it wasn't for God and me, this would not have happened. Believe that if you want to, but I know for a fact that this was
Yeah.
God, and so I just love that you said that.
Really good. Really good. Well, we're coming to the close of our podcast. Anything that you want to share with our listeners? Anything that you're working on or excited about, or any secret military updates that you want to? No, I'm playing. No, but anything you want to share that our listeners should know or to consider?
I'll just say it's never too late to do something great.
Mm.
Oh man, that kind of rhymes.
That
I like
rhyme,
how that
babe. That
sounds.
just popped out.
I
Yeah.
need to put that on a title of a sermon or something. It's never too late to do something great.
Okay.
And when I joined the military, as I look back on it, it's one of the best decisions I've made.
Mm.
Financially, it's been a blessing as a naval officer. Not just benefits wise, but the people I've been able to touch
Wow.
has been greater than when I was a pastor of a church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes when we don't continue to follow God, we limit the capacity and the opportunities that God is actually trying to give us.
Wow. Yeah.
Because it's not familiar, it's not normal, nobody around you has ever done it.
Yeah.
And God is sometimes saying, listen, man, I'm calling you to be a trendsetter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to do what has never been done and to go where no one else has been to show my people that it's possible.
Yes. I love that.
And so I just want to encourage somebody that don't let age or not enough experience, man, just continue to follow God and get what you need. And He will bring you to places where you can't believe you're there once you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Really good.
Wow, what a great advice to end with. Oshaine, thank you so much for being here with us, sharing your insight, sharing your story.
Thank you.
We definitely want to have you on again to talk about parenting and in this phase of life that you're in and all the journeys and the challenges and excitement that comes with that and marriage, right? So
Yeah. Can't wait to talk about my dark chocolate. Amen, somebody.
Okay. Oh,
Shout
man,
out
what
to
a
Karina. Girl, I ain't gonna do this podcast without shouting you out.
I love it. I love it.
Oh
Well,
my
hey, y'all.
gosh.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Relationships and Reason. Again, please follow us on social. Share this with somebody that you believe would appreciate this. Would love to hear your feedback. Love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Again, thank you.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.